everyone. This is Abdullah Conte and Skylar Nelson, and this is Win Sports. We're here to talk about the Commanders' last game. We are recording this on Thursday night. I'm not sure exactly when we'll get this posted, but just want to clarify on that. We are here to discuss the game. I kind of talk a little bit about the game. I mean, the game was a little farther away than when we usually do a review. So really just kind of talk about a little bit of the game between the Commanders and the Chargers, and then really talk about how this team has progressed. They're about a quarter of the way through the season. And, basically they got a big Monday night game against the Bears on, this week. And it's a rematch of the Hail Mary game, the famous Hail Mary game. It's the Jaleb versus Caleb. Or excuse me, Jaden versus Caleb. I don't know what I said. Jaleb versus Caleb. Jaden versus Caleb. And basically, it's it's kind of turned into this little rivalry. The Bears really don't like the Commanders. The Commanders, I think. The Commanders fans are just annoyed with all the trash talking from the Bears overall. So it's kind of this weird tie with these two teams because of the draft from last year. But before we get into that, Skylar, how you been? Were you surprised, or how did you feel like the game went for them this past Sunday?
I honestly think they played pretty well. Overall, I feel like Jaden, he looked pretty good. I feel like, he kind of showed off a little bit because he was at home, his hometown. So, that was pretty exciting. I feel like that they kind of poked the bear a little bit. I was
Mm-hmm.
looking for some type of spark on the offense to kind of occur. We did see some showings on defense that were pretty promising, but I feel like the offense really kind of redeemed themselves overall. And we also noticed that, well, this is something that we already noticed, but I'm glad that Cliff kind of changed his play calling towards the middle of the game, where it was like, okay, we're going to utilize that run game. So, I think that was, pretty much the highlight of last week. And now, if you don't know who Bill is, now you know.
Yeah,
So,
basically, from if anybody listened to what we were talking about last week,
hmm
I know we both talked about the lack of utilization of the run, especially since I think they are the number one run offense right now. I know they're in the top
yeah,
two.
they
Um,
are.
and I was, you heard me saying it last week. So many of the fan base has been talking about Bill, 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 and
hmm
we've always said from a media perspective that it seems like they were going to do the whole running back by committee kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like last week for sure. I was like, yo, run Bill. Enough is enough, because the other two guys, even though they run hard and they're
hmm
good assets to the team, Bill has a little bit more of a spark, man. There's something about that kid,
Yeah.
his ability to make people miss, his ability to, um, just break free consistently. It's been surprising, man. And not even surprising. It's what we've been seeing in camp. It just,
Yeah.
we were surprised that he hasn't been getting the carries, and I was kind of like, yo, give this kid more carries. I don't know what they need to do, because I know there's other things like the pass game, pass pro, or reasons why they haven't played him. But I'm like, yo, coach him up and get him on the field. And I think they're starting to realize like he is a really strong asset to this team. But yeah, I mean, the team started off really poorly. That first quarter was atrocious. So,
Yeah.
obviously, I'll talk about my experience. I was there at the game, and the energy was great. The vibes were great. I think it was very like 50-50 when it comes to Commanders versus Chargers fans.
hmm
And I think the Commanders were louder, and I think you heard that throughout the game. People who were watching on TV told me like, "Yo, we could hear the fans." Towards the end of that game, and yeah, it was, the vibes were good. It was so good to see. Obviously, it was good to see Jaden again, but that first quarter was ugly. It was really ugly, and at that point, before that forced fumble by um, Quan Martin,
Yeah.
we're sitting there. I'm sitting there kind of like, man, this team, this is just maybe not a good team this year. At this
Yeah.
point last year, we kind of, they kind of solidified that they were a force to be reckoned with. And this year, after 5 games, you kind of start to get it. I told you this earlier, like I think it was after the
Yeah.
first or second game, I said by week 5, we'll know what this team really is. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, after that first quarter, I'm like, maybe this team just is not very good.
Yeah. And
But
you
they
can see
turned it
that
around.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
you
ahead.
could see that. You can definitely see that because even for me, like during the game, like the offense tends to start off slow. That's something that we've always kind of known. But for the DBs are really starting to kind of like have me think a little bit because when I was looking at them throughout the game, like just watching Jeremy Reeves, yes, he's a dog, but at the same time, he had a lot of missed tackles and then just going and going and going as I kept watching the defense. And there was even a time, like even some people were tweeting on Twitter, like the defense has been out there too long. And I could agree. I'm like sitting here just watching each play occur, and I'm like, the defense. See, I think this is the thing. The defense kind of like sums their position groups up by saying, okay, we can hit hard. We're dogs. They bring that energy. But in terms of just the DBs and their coverage, I feel like there's been some holes within their coverage throughout the time being, which has led to missed tackles and things of that sort. I feel like every once in a while we see maybe a pick six or we see, a fumble, a forced fumble. But I do feel like in the last couple of games that we've watched, the DBs have struggled and we've seen that. I mean, there's like one or two like good showings, but I feel like that they kind of, I'm not necessarily going to say cover it up by saying, oh, we're going to get that hit or we're going to get that fumble or that interception. But I do feel like, there is a lack of coverage when it comes to man. And I
Well,
think that's
they
what
they
they're.
played they played a lot more zone in this last game, which is
Hmm.
why they probably had more success. Because I think you're talking about the DBs from the whole season, not just
Yeah.
this game. And I think
Yeah.
the man to man is the situation is where they've struggled the most. That's why I mean Lattimore has been getting the brunt of the disdain from the fan base, but they are asking him to do a lot. I mean, if you have to cover
Yeah.
somebody man to man across the field, that can be a very difficult task. And
Absolutely.
you saw that we've seen them get beat by man beaters in the past. This game, they were getting beat by zone beaters. And
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, like I think Reeves had like a very up and down game because there were some missed tackles in the first quarter that were like bad. I mean, that one where Justin Herbert had that long run, it looked like he had that one on one with Herbert and missed him. But at the same time, there was a lot of tackles he did make at the end of the game too.
Yeah,
So
that's what
it's
I'm
just yeah,
saying.
it's they are playing a little bit more, especially in this game. They played a little bit more of a bend don't break kind
Yeah.
of defense where they're gonna give them like these short little passes, but they're just not they're trying to eliminate these big plays, and in a way it kind of worked because I think that they were maybe a little bit more aggressive in the way they were calling defense
Yeah.
before, thinking that like, hey, we got some dogs at corners on the side, and I think those corners are like, yo, we need maybe a little bit more help. I think Lattimore is a good player, but he might not be the man-to-man player that he was 5 years ago versus now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I was, the defense, obviously the Mikey false start at the beginning of the game kind of made that the beginning part look worse for the defense because they had
Yeah.
him, they stopped him, and they were making him kick the field goal, and then he has that false start. They turned that into a touchdown.
Yeah.
If you take that away, I mean, what was the final score? I mean, they only scored 10 points. They would have scored six if that was
Yeah.
if that was the case. You know what I mean? So it is one of these things where I thought the defense played pretty well. I agree with you. They've struggled. They've had some weird games.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they've saved like their games most I feel like their games recently, and maybe like correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I've seen is it's like their games have been covered through the redemption of just stopping those big plays or just, you know, switching the play call and doing something else, which is not really something that's been done often. But at the same time, I feel like when it comes to that man to man coverage, they have struggled with that. And we saw them kind of, I guess, working on that a little bit in camp, not too much, but at the same time, it's still is going to be a problem when it comes to like those harder teams down the line as the schedule gets more in that primetime area, or when we start playing those divisional rivals. That's when
Yeah, when
we're
they
going to
have
have
to
to
start
question.
playing guys like Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, and
Yeah.
obviously the receivers in Dallas, Pickens and CD, who they play a week from, this
Yeah.
Sunday. It is concerning because of the fact that those guys have been, Pickens has been having a really, really strong year. So, it's going to be interesting to see what direction they go. Are they going to go with we're going to play more zone and give things up, but try to limit
Yeah.
big plays, or are they going to try to be a little bit more aggressive? I mean, some of the things that they did well, they brought more pressure from different areas. Like,
Yeah.
we saw Jordan McGee in the backfield a few times, which was nice. He didn't finish some of those plays, but he was close. And,
Yeah.
we also saw Bobby Wagner rushing a little bit.
Yeah.
The
Like the D
D
line
line
is
play,
phenomenal.
the D line played really well. I will say that the Chargers, they had a lot of people hurt on their O line, so I
Exactly.
would
Yeah.
like to believe that it was just the D line playing well and not just
Yeah.
the O line from the Chargers struggling. And fortunate for them this week, Darnell Wright for the Bears might not play, so that might be another benefit that they can get. But yeah, ultimately. I think the defense has been playing pretty well all season. The worst
Yeah.
game they had was Atlanta. The
Yeah.
Green Bay game, they were trying to, hold as much as possible, but the offense just didn't do anything. So, you know, basically, when it comes to this game specifically, it was a win for them. I mean, they started off a little slow. Sorry. They started off a little slow. But yeah, they basically had turned it up, and they really shut down that Chargers offense
Yeah.
throughout that second half. But it's also that the Chargers kind of shot themselves in the foot a few times in the beginning. Their O line had a bunch of bad holding penalties, and then they just could not. I think with the lack of maybe some of their playmakers, Omarion and Hampton got hurt later in that game. Like they they had a lot of injuries and the momentum just died for them. But
Yeah.
that's not the Commanders' fault. Take advantage of that, right? So
Yeah.
they did what they needed to do, and it really, I mean, this was a game they really needed because if they would have lost this, I don't know what people would be saying, how they would have been feeling. I think this
Yeah.
is a momentum shifter, and I think it also just shows that Jaden's really, really good. But I think Jaden just being back changed the energy from this team. Like
It
they
did.
really believe that they can play, they can win if he's on that side. I think it even helps the defense because the defense knows like, hey, we got a guy who can score at any time. Like we can play a little bit looser, and I think it makes also the offenses on the other side stressed out because they're like, hey, if we don't score, that kid on the other side is probably going to score something. Like we got to keep up with them. So. But anyways, we don't want to talk too much about the game. That
Yeah.
game's
No, we
over,
don't.
right? So,
Yeah.
I think this podcast episode is mostly going to be about what have we seen from them. We're a quarter away through the season. What have we seen from them? And then also what's the thoughts about them moving forward, especially in regards to playing the Bears? So, it's been 5 games. We'll start on the offense first. Give me the things that you're surprised about. Things that you thought would happen that did happen. Things that you're surprised about that like you thought would happen that didn't happen. And then just give me maybe like your outlook on how do you think they'll fare against the Bears overall as well.
I think the offense is really going to really dominate against the Bears. I mean, I definitely think we're going to see a good game from Debo. Obviously, Bill, I want to see him keep that momentum up. And I also feel like, the O line could probably play a really good game. I mean, in the last game in week 5 against the Chargers, I mean, we saw Jaden only had 1 sack and 1 quarterback hit, which is it's not bad, but I mean at the same time, you still want to make sure that that doesn't increase. But just overall, I do feel like, that their offense is really going to shine, especially since the Bears, are they going to play their secondary more than their first team?
You said what was that last thing?
Are they going to play like their secondary more than their first team? I feel like that's kind of how it's been going. Like, I don't think they've been playing all of their primary guys.
On the O line.
No, 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 no. On their defense.
Ooh, you're talking about because of the fact that they're like hurt. Some of their guys are hurt.
Yeah, I think some of their guys are hurt from what I
I
know.
know that they had some secondary issues.
Hmm.
I think one of their safeties, Kyler, I can't remember his first name, Kyler Gordon. That's right. He
Hmm.
is out, or he's been limited, so he might be returning. He hasn't been playing, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I don't think they're losing a bunch of people. I
Okay.
really don't.
Yeah. I mean, their offense, I mean, to be honest, I mean, based on like what we've seen so far from the Bears, I mean, they're 2-2. Not nothing too crazy to say. I mean, I feel like any team can always have a redemption year. Maybe this is their revenge year. We don't know that. But at the same time, I know for a fact that, obviously from how things look, the Bears are not going to want what happened last year to happen again. They want to be able to rattle the Commanders. They want to be able to disrupt the offense. And the biggest thing they're going to have to disrupt is the run game. That's even if Cliff decides to even use that to its advantage again, like everybody's been praising and
Well, he
hoping
should.
for.
He should because they have the worst run defense in the league, or I think they're
Yeah.
second to last, and this team has
Yeah.
the first.
They
So,
are.
but yeah, I mean, tell me about your. I asked about your surprises about this season, or like it's been a quarter of the way through. Like, how do you feel about the offense's production overall? And is anything a surprise, or have things gone the way you thought they would?
I mean, I wouldn't say that nothing has been a surprise. I mean, things haven't gone the way that I thought they would go. I mean, but nothing hasn't really been a surprise. I do kind of feel like, with injuries coming so quickly, I think one of the biggest things was I wasn't expecting Jaden to get injured for a couple weeks and Mariota stepping in so quickly. But I mean, you would rather that happen now than happen down the line when you're trying to fight for a playoff spot. So that I can see, but at the same time, like I wouldn't say that there was anything surprising to me that really just shot out to me. I will say, obviously we've seen as the Commanders offense progress this year, even adding Debo into the mix, upgrading the run game and getting rid of B Rob and then trading B Rob off and then having like these guys in here and then you got Josh Conley Jr. in the O line as a rookie, just having that dynamic and then adding Lermy Tunsil in there. There have been some changes, but at the same time, I wouldn't say that and then also to not having Sam Cosmi, that kind of, that's been on people's minds since last season. So, I wouldn't say there's really any surprises. It's just some adjustments in terms of like thinking and analyzing. But I mean, to be honest, I do feel like the offense has started off a little bit slow from my understanding. I mean, they haven't been terrible. It's just we know that they've been learning to gel a little bit more. But we even saw this last year, that's kind of how they got into like that playoff mode last year was because they found a rhythm midway and they stuck with it. And I think, that's going to probably happen again. That's just kind of how the team has been going and we just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I'll talk about my thoughts on the offense as a whole, yeah, and I'll talk about, how I feel about it from, the first quarter of the season.
Hmm.
I think it's hard to evaluate quarterback because of the fact that Jaden's been hurt. But
Yeah.
2 out of the 3 games he played in, I thought he played very well.
Hmm.
I think the Green Bay game, and you could say the Green Bay game was just the offense kind of didn't play well. I don't think he
Yeah, no,
played
they didn't.
ridiculously bad. There wasn't anybody who was playing well. I think my
Yeah.
biggest surprise is maybe the lack of utilization of Bill until this week. Like if you take
Yeah.
this week out of it, it really was that they didn't play Bill as much as I thought they would, and this was like kind of that
Hmm.
breakout game. So and then I think the thing that doesn't surprise me is Debo playing so well. I think we saw
Yeah.
all of that in training camp. That made so much sense to me. Another big surprise to me is Brandon Coleman. I don't know
Oh,
what's going
yeah.
on with his
Yeah,
season.
I'm not sure
I don't know
either.
what's going on there. The fact that he's been not even just like, oh, he's second string, the fact that he's just been inactive, it's just weird
Yeah.
because this is somebody who started at tackle for you all last year. When you brought Tunsil in, you're like, oh, you brought Tunsil
Yeah.
in, you brought, you drafted Connor Lee. You're like, oh, Coleman's going straight to guard. He's going to be that was like a solidified position. And the
Yeah.
way Chris Paul is playing, so many people are raving about him. So many analysts that really study all linemen have been raving about his play so far this season.
Yeah.
So it's a unit. So maybe just he doesn't gel. Maybe Coleman just doesn't gel with the people that they brought in. I don't know, but that's
Yeah,
been
no,
probably
that's
if I had to say number one
yeah.
surprise, that's probably the biggest surprise
Yeah, I
out of the
kind
season
of
for the
didn't really
offense.
think about that too much because
Yeah.
I feel like we have been paying attention a lot to quarterbacks, to wide receivers, and then the run game. But yeah,
Mhm.
no, I would say for me as well, like even just thinking about it,
This is
Brandon
crazy.
Coleman
It's
would be
just
a
crazy
surprise.
where we thought he was going to be and versus like he's just not playing at all. It's
Yeah.
like I don't even know what you're going to do with him by the end of
Yeah,
the
I'm just
season.
not
But
sure. And for
yeah.
him to not even be on the injury list is kind of,
Yeah, it's just like, what's the issue?
it's
I
just
think
like
that's
what's
another
going
problem.
on.
It's not if he was injured or if he was like we even knew. He's not really a guy that gives like a lot of character flaw
Yeah.
like vibe.
You
So
know, he
if it
doesn't.
was a character flaw thing, okay, we could just chalk it up to that. But I just don't know. I don't know what it is. So
Yeah, no,
that's
I
just been a
don't.
surprise. Now, my thoughts on how they'll play against the Bears or like what they need to do against the Bears. I just feel like you run the ball, man. I mean, this team is
Yeah.
known to not be able to stop anyone. Aston Genty ran all over them. He's also a rookie, so Bill, the way Bill's been running, like they need to really utilize the run game.
Yeah.
Get Debo involved in the run game. Get McNichols. They got the O line has really transformed into a really strong run group, and
Mhm.
yeah, they might get Noah Brown back this week. It looks like he's
Yeah.
trending towards playing.
Yeah, he's
Um,
been practicing, and then also Sam Cosmi will be in a full week of practice, so he actually practiced today in full
yeah,
pads.
well, we don't know if Sam's going to play
Yeah,
or
we
not.
don't
Like
know
the
that.
vibe is
Although
the
he's in
vibe that I'm
practice.
getting is that he probably isn't going to play this week, and they'll
Mhm.
activate him next week. But either way, like the offensively, they'll have more weapons.
Yeah.
I don't think they need to. I think they can really win this game by running the ball heavy. Like I could see this game being one where Jaden might still play well, but he might not
Mhm.
throw for 300 yards or something. He might throw for like 215 or something, and
Yeah.
you can see Bill having another big game because they just have struggled to run, to stop the run. Now they could change that up because they know that's a issue and scheme something up where they're having more success that way. But I think that they really need to try to push that. And so I think they're going to have success on this team. I honestly feel like there's a lot of energy with this game. I know the Bears are going to bring it, but I just feel like this Commanders team plays really well at home, so I'm really excited to see. So let's go to defense. Obviously,
Mhm.
you tell me about your surprises and your thoughts on the team and how they played throughout the first quarter, and then go to your feelings about how they'll do against the Bears.
I mean, honestly, I think the biggest surprise for me in terms of just playing ability right now is just the DBs. I was expecting them to kind of play a little bit better. I think, I think the biggest surprise in terms of just how they've been playing is that they've had some good showings, but not many. And then on top of that too, it's just the lack in certain coverage for certain things. I do feel like, as we saw against the Chargers, they played better in zone than they do man to man, and like that's fine. But I do know once we get down to the knitting gritty of those divisional games, we're gonna have to see more aggression and better coverage. But in terms of just overall the defense in the first quarter, I do feel like the D line has been absolutely just phenomenal. I do feel like that they've had some good showings in terms of, Deron Payne getting that sack or Dorrance Armstrong. We've seen some showings from Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, Vaughn a little bit here and there. I do feel like that yes, it's a veteran style group. Obviously, we didn't really see them play their best against Green Bay, but that's a whole nother story. But at the same time, I feel like the D line really was kind of the strength and glue against the Chargers. And hopefully we'll be able to see that more against the Bears. I do feel like that they'll be able to kind of rattle the Bears a little bit. We're still talking about not a veteran based team. They're still kind of young in a way. So, I do feel like that the Bears, there's going to be some competition there on defense, but I feel like as long as they respond offensively, I feel like that this game will be pretty solid.
Yeah. I would say, I think the biggest thing for me is the surprise when it comes to the defense, and they're playing well enough to give them some kudos or some love. I think the way I was raving about the DBs, especially the corners, I'm
Hmm.
pretty disappointed about how they played so far.
Yeah.
It's one of these things where I feel that I think it's possible that I'll change my tune again to be on the positive side about them by the end of the year. But
Yeah, I
as of
probably
right
will
now,
too.
yeah, I mean, I think what I saw last game gets me excited. I mean, Amos, we haven't heard much from Amos, but that's a good thing when you're a DB, when you're a corner.
Yeah.
The more you hear about a corner, the worse it is. The less you hear about it
Yeah.
means that they're playing well because no one's throwing on them. They're not giving up anything.
Yep.
But I do think that maybe the scheme wasn't giving these people the greatest opportunity to make plays. And, we saw Lattimore make more plays last game. I think
Hmm.
Quan and Mikey had a struggle the first few games, but the last
Yeah.
two games he's balled out. So I think maybe they just need to get warmed up a little bit. But I was really anticipating like already people being like, "Yo, these DBs are legit." Maybe it's just taking a while for that to come to
Yeah.
fruition. But that would probably be my biggest surprise. Another big surprise for me, Kinlaw. I mean, I think the D line. I think I knew the D line was good. That was something that we were saying
Yeah, we
throughout
were
camp.
talking
We were
about that
like, "Yo,
already.
like for some reason." The O line wasn't doing that great, but we were kind of like, I think the O line might be good. They're just going against some good players, and the D line has been good all year, and it's proving that we were accurate about that assessment. And
Yeah.
Kinlaw's maybe the biggest surprise for me because that's one of the positions that even though we were watching the D line have success, it's really hard to see because when they're running, in camp they can't tackle running backs, so they have to like touch
Yeah.
them, let them go. So you never know if that would have been like a real tackle for loss and stuff. So seeing Kinlaw and seeing Deron Payne really, really take over in the middle, and every time they have a good game, they end up winning the game. So it really shows that
Hmm.
they just play such a big role in that defense. But I think that was the thing that like makes sense to me. The D line is playing as well as I thought they would have,
Hmm.
and I just think I'm surprised even more about Kinlaw and Payne's play in the middle being even better than what I had thought. But yeah, I mean when it comes to this team playing against the Bears, Caleb is playing better, but Caleb, this O line isn't the best, and Caleb doesn't do well under pressure.
Yeah.
I would
No,
be
he
aggressive.
doesn't.
This is one of those times where I would be a little bit more aggressive in getting after him. They haven't been able to run the ball either. I mean, DeAndre Swift has more carries than Bill. It has like 100 yards less or something like that. He has not had much success. Romo Dunze has probably been their best player on offense. Outside of Caleb, he's had a great year. He's playing like the player they thought they would get when they drafted him in the top 10 last year.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I just feel like Ben Johnson is good, and I think the biggest thing about what if I'm concerned about anything, is maybe because of the fact that they've had a bye week to prepare, make up some new plays, and get some scheme things that they can do to maybe confuse the Commanders and get some quick points or something like that. That's the only thing I'm truly worried about. I do think Ben Johnson is a good offensive play caller, but I think when you look at the talent from the team top to bottom and the way they play, I think they play so well at home that it just makes me really I just can't really imagine them getting beat. It's possible, obviously, but I just feel like they bring a lot of, especially on the defense, they bring a lot of energy at home. They really do. And
Yeah.
even all the games they've played, even the ones the one game that just didn't make any sense to me was the Falcons game, but all the other games the defense has played pretty well and has given me reasons to believe that they'd be able to handle Caleb Williams in this game. And
Yeah.
so I definitely think that I'm excited to see what they do. I think just the ability of the Bears to have another week to kind of prepare, maybe they can counter the talent disparity that might be there between the Bears offense and the Commanders defense. But,
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a game, and what I love about the Commanders and even just Dan Quinn and what Jaden had said yesterday was just that last year's game, although the Hail Mary was exciting, although, just the atmosphere, we're talking about a night game, we're talking about the number 1 and number 2 draft picks going at it at home. They're both starters. That just put enough excitement on it, enough. Plus, adding that Hail Mary on top of that for the Commanders, not only was that unexpected, but it sparked something in the team and something in the franchise that no one hasn't seen in a while. And that's great and all, but what I love about Dan Quinn and Jaden's responses to it yesterday is that was last year's story. It was great. They loved it. It was amazing. But at the same time, they're looking at, okay, the Bears have gotten better from last year. How do we match up against them? And that's the biggest thing. And I think, just even shifting the mindset, and Dan Quinn had mentioned yesterday, bringing more physicality and energy into it more so than just thinking of it as another game, being better than the last game.
yeah.
Even though they won, even though we got Jaden back, being better than the last game. And even if it is Chicago, that's the biggest thing.
Chicago needs the Commanders need to not think about last year, and and then Chicago needs to think about what happened last year.
Yeah,
I think that's what
absolutely.
they have to do to kind of bring that energy. Like the Commanders need to bring the energy of we don't care what happened last year. We're here to beat you today, and this is a whole different game. And the Bears need to kind of bring it last year, being like, "Yo, we got embarrassed. We felt like we had that game, and we're here to get our revenge." And which one will play more of a role? I don't know. I mean, when I look at this team top to bottom, the Bears are just a team that they could come in. Look, last year, I thought Commanders would win, and they played well enough to win the whole game, but then they choked it away at the end. They couldn't score. They had so many field goals that were within the 30-yard line. They could not score a touchdown at all, and they almost choked the whole game away because they just couldn't score a touchdown. So could it be another game like that? It's possible. I don't know.
It's
I mean,
possible.
I just feel like the energy, they're not gonna catch the Commanders sleeping, and I think that the way that this team has been playing, the way they played in this last game gives me feelings that the momentum of this team waking up and getting into that mode of, hey, last year was fun, but we got to turn it on this year, makes me feel positive that they're going to have some success in this game. And I think, look, the whole black jerseys, everybody should wear black. The crowd's going to be very into it. The energy, I can't wait for this game. I haven't been this excited for a game in a while. And the energy is going to be big. The energy is going to be high. And, I think both players, Caleb can play under pressure. Caleb plays well when, the lights are on him as well. So I think it's going to be exciting just to see.
Yeah.
But I just, if I had to say who I felt like had more of an edge, I'd still think the Commanders do.
They do.
But let's talk about, just quickly, let's just talk about special teams. I'll go first on this one. The surprise of special teams has probably been the fact that they've been pretty good, considering we crushed this team. That New England game, the special teams looked so bad in the preseason that we kind of crushed them, and we were thrilled, not excited, but clearly, having Debo returning kicks, having Luke has been playing well. We didn't talk about Luke on offense. He's been a surprise on offense, but also a surprise as a positive in the return game.
Okay, he wasn't a surprise for me.
Yeah, that's true. You've been championing him. That is true. I will say
that wasn't a surprise for me, but it was a surprise for a lot of you.
You've been locked in on him for sure,
Just
and
saying.
you've been good about that, right?
Not gonna say
you've
no
been
names or
and honestly, we got to give as much as people want to knock him, because people had reasons to knock Luke, and I said before, I'm all good with you knocking Luke because he hasn't performed yet. But
I understand
let's give
too.
him some time, right? Let's give him some time, and I think it's nice to see that he's actually turning the leaf. It's been his second year. It's just his second year, right? It's like his third year playing receiver, third or fourth year playing receiver.
Yeah,
so
and
he's still new to the position. He's really transforming. He looked like his dad on that long catch. He looked like old school Ed McCaffrey. It was beautiful to see. And yeah, but in the kicking game, he's also been
Yeah.
producing, and so is Jalen Lane. But not only just that, the coverage has been really good. There's been
Hmm.
obviously that punt return wasn't ideal, the one that they gave up but got called back.
Yeah.
But outside of that, the coverage has been really good. They've been hitting hard. They've been attacking it. So many guys seem really into it and active. I think the only negative was Matt Gay early on, but the last two games he's played well. So
He's played
if they
solid.
turn that around, ultimately the special teams has done well. I'm not gonna really talk about how the special teams are gonna play against the Bears. I mean, there's not much to
Yeah.
say, but basically,
Yeah.
have you been surprised about the special teams play, or do you have an opinion on their performance?
Honestly, I'm glad that Matt Gay got it together in the meantime. I mean, I still got my eyes
Yeah,
on you.
yeah.
But I mean, I don't really have anything to really complain about special teams. The only thing is just in general, just me talking overall, like I can't remember if they've had too many penalties on special teams,
Not
but
really. Not that
but
I know of. No.
yeah, not that I know of, but in general, just staying consistent. That's just what I'm hoping for. I think that just seeing Jalen Lane in the return game and seeing Luke and even Debo being more involved, I feel like has really put a spark in the special teams a little bit. It's kind of exciting to watch because what I like is although they didn't have that good game against New England in the preseason, Dan Quinn made it a priority. And, they did good eternally, but although Matt Gay was struggling, he played great in the last 2 to 3 games. So,
Yeah.
hopefully he keeps that momentum going. And hopefully, it speaks, precedence and volume against Chicago on Monday. And we're talking about Monday Night Football at that. So hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking
No,
forward to
I
it.
mean, it's look, we're a few days away from the game. I mean, I couldn't be more excited for this. Like I said, I mean, it's been a fun season so far. Going to Lambeau,
Hmm.
obviously being in LA, that's a good time. But this game, this is the first game out of the first 5 games. There wasn't really a strong storyline. With the first 5 games. I mean, you had the Giants who are a division rival, and you got the energy
Yeah.
of it being the first game, but they're not supposed to be super good, obviously, as we can see. The Packers,
Hmm.
even though there was energy about, playing against Micah Parsons and
Yeah.
stuff, there's no real connection between this team and the Packers. The Raiders are the Raiders, the
Yeah.
Falcons, even though there was maybe a little bit of energy because of the way they
Yeah.
played against them last year and it came down to the wire last year, there's a little
Yep.
energy there.
And it was at Mercedes
Yeah,
Benz
yeah,
again.
but
So
and then the Chargers game is just the Chargers. Like there's not they're a good team, but they've also lost a lot of players. So this is
yeah.
the first time where there's a game where you're like, yo, there's the drama outside of it. The drama that leads to a game also can impact the game. And I think what
Absolutely.
what everything that happened last year, as well as just Jaleb and Caleb. Wow, Jaleb.
Why do you keep
Jade. I
doing
don't
that?
know. I have no idea. Jaden and Caleb. I want to say the both names at the same time. Jaden and Caleb together. Playing against each other, 1 versus 2. This is turning into this like a little rivalry. Kind of reminds me of when Peyton Manning and Tom Brady used to go against each
Hmm.
other all the time. And then also the fact that Ben Johnson, was supposed to interview here, he cancels and calls this organization just a bunch of basketball guys. So there's a little hostility there, and also the fact that the Commanders beat, the Lions when he was OC last year, in the playoffs.
That's
There's a
more.
lot of tension. There's a lot of tensions
Yeah.
between them and this team. The fans, the Bears fans, really don't like the Commanders fans right now. The Commanders fans really don't like the Bears fans right
I
now.
mean, but
So
would you really call this like a matchup of like Tom Brady and Peyton? It's more so like
well, not necessarily at the skill level of those
I was about to
guys. I'm
say,
just no, not saying that they're as talented as those two, but it's one of these things where I'm saying that if this continues, like if they both continue to grow, it was a point where those two guys played against each other every year, and the reason why I bring those two up is because they weren't in the same division, but they played each other every year because the way the schedule works is that if your teams are at the same level of your division, you play them again, and we've played the Bears Like this team's played the Bears like 4 times in a row in the last 4 years. So it's
Yeah.
becoming a rivalry because of the fact that they play so much. But what I'm saying is that if they keep progressing as talented players, it really could get to that point where it's like, yo, who's better? You know, the way people used to, we like, and this is where I'm coming from. Like, I'm showing my age a little bit, but in high school, we would be like, yo, there was a rivalry. People would be like, I'm on Team Brady, and the other people would be like, I'm on Team Manning. Like, I was always a Team Manning guy, and then eventually I was like, man, I had to give it to Tom because Tom just kept winning, and Tom was just better, right? But I always used to be like, yo, I'm on Team Manning, and I feel like you're kind of having that same kind of rivalry of, it's not really even about the teams that much. You have people who are like, I like Jaden, and then some people are like, I like Caleb. So that's what I mean. It's not like they're not to say that they're like as talented as those two guys.
I was just thinking more so for me, I'm thinking like this is more because of their age group and their skill level. I'm thinking more not their skill level, but it's like for me, if we're just talking quarterbacks, I'm thinking like this is kind of like a Lamar versus Josh Allen type of situation.
But it's the same thing. I mean, my thing is it's exactly the same thing because it's two guys.
It's just I'm thinking about Tom because it's like Tom looked up to Peyton. You know what I'm
saying? No, he didn't.
Well,
not
he exactly.
didn't. No. I don't think because I don't think you know this because of the fact that I like literally was growing up during that time. They didn't. They were cool with each other, just like Lamar and Josh Allen are cool with each other. But it was something where it was like. There was always clearly like a who is the better player.
Tom looked up more to like Tom looked
it
up
would be
to
different if it was like
a Joe Montana.
That's what I mean. It would be different if it was like
I just feel like the respect. I mean,
because you're talking about it as if it was like Peyton when Patrick Mahomes played Tom Brady, that was different because they were both high level, but Patrick looked up to Tom Brady or was also like more respectful of Tom Brady because Tom Brady's older. But Tom Brady and Peyton Manning were generally around the same age. The only reason why you might think that Tom Brady was older is because he played longer and Peyton just didn't have the long career. No, what?
No. I was thinking, wait a minute, no, I gotta see their ages now.
I don't think they're that far. I don't think they're that far apart in age. They literally like came out around the same time.
Peyton is 49.
Peyton's 49 for real?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And Tom Brady's 48. Good gracious.
That's what I'm telling you. Like, see, don't play with me. I know what I'm talking about.
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
telling you, they're around the same age.
It felt like Tom Brady was like 45 yesterday.
Well, because he played till he was like 45. The guy played forever. He played for like another like 7 seasons after Manning retired. That shows the greatness of Tom Brady though, because he had longevity also. But yeah,
it just felt like from me watching football as a kid, it just felt like. From what I saw, it felt like Peyton was always older.
Well,
like,
just because he looks
by
older.
gap.
Because he looks older. Tom Brady was at the game, by the way. I got pictures of him and everything. Yeah. That was cool to see him walk by me. But anyways,
what you're saying now.
They were like rivals. They were around the same age. Yeah, they were around the same age.
I was thinking like he couldn't. Like I was thinking in my head like.
Yeah, you just think look, Tom Brady looks better.
Versus Jalen Hurts or Lamar versus Josh Allen. Like,
Lamar and Josh, but that's the thing. That's why I said it's like the same thing because Lamar and Josh Allen is similar to that, where it's like two guys that are going against each other all the time, and there's respect there, but like it's always like who do you like more, and they're always in competition with each other. I feel like you're gonna see that with Jaden and Caleb. I said it right this time. With Jaden and Caleb going up together.
Because now I am thinking about it because honestly. And everything, even in his speech, now I'm thinking about it because now Tom Brady actually did like look up like with being a pocket quarterback and just watching football from a young kid and then playing it once being drafted. He did look up to Joe Montana. So like him and Peyton were close.
I think he was a 49ers fan because he's from California, I believe. But anyways, basically though, it's just. There was always that tension between those two, and every year was kind of like every year, man. We watched. There were so many times I watched the Patriots versus the Colts, Patriots versus the Colts, and it would either be in the regular season or in the playoffs. And majority of the time, Tom Brady won those games, but. That was always kind of the thing. It was a regular every year kind of occurrence, but those two guys didn't play in the same division because obviously, if you play in the same division, you know you're going to play that guy every year.
Yeah.
We didn't know that they would play each other, but every year it would happen because either they would play in the season because their teams, lined up in the schedule, or they would play in the postseason because their teams were both really good to the point where they had to play each other to see who goes to the Super Bowl. And so I think that since Caleb and Jaden are in the same division, but not, or excuse me, in the same conference, but not in the same division. I really feel like if they both keep having success, we're going to keep seeing the Bears play this team every year. And it's going to be like, yo, who's going to win the matchup this year? And that's really where the comparison comes.
But see, that's if the Bears go that far, because it's like we've seen what the Commanders can do, but the Bears,
they
haven't had the best.
No, we're hoping, and I think for me and the rivalry, I'm hoping that I like Caleb, by the way. You know what I mean? I like Jaden more, but I like Caleb, and I think I want him to have success. And I think for this rivalry to continue the way that I would love to see it continue, because I like good stories, would be that they both progress well and they both are good. You know what I mean? And they have to battle each other. But you're right, it does depend on if both people can continue that. And I think we have reasons to believe that Jaden is going to continuously be good, and I think this team is going to be continuously good because we feel like they have a good organization, a good coach, and a good GM, and then a good quarterback. With the Bears, we don't know that because obviously they changed things up this year. They have the same GM and Ryan Poles, who I like, but a lot of people don't like. Their new coach, Ben Johnson, people are kind of not sure if he's good or not, and we're going to see that later this year. And Caleb is also one that he's shown promise, but it did not work out well at all last year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Bears. But this game is going to kind of give us more of an idea of that. Is this like a real rivalry? Are they going to win this one? Are they going to get their revenge? Or is this going to be something where every year they're going to be battling with the Commanders, but they can't get over the hump, So I'm just excited. I just feel like there's a lot of storylines with this game.
Yeah, there is. It's probably the most that's happened so far this year. And
by far the most intriguing game this year that this Commanders team has had.
And even too, like the Commanders are just getting like last Monday. No, the game before week 5 was their last 1 p.m. game for a while, where they played at 4:25.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna see a lot of prime time.
The remainder of the schedule until like December 7th, they're all primetime pretty much. They're games.
All primetime.
And it's very exciting.
It's exciting.
Like, this is the first of many very exciting matchups moving forward. So we'll see what happens. But basically, let's end that here. You know what I mean? That's a good point to stop it at. Actually, we got to do our quick score.
I was going to say, you didn't want to do prediction?
No, quick score prediction, just quick. I'm going to go ahead and do mine. I believe that I believe that Amos or Lattimore is getting a pick this week. Caleb loves to throw picks. Somebody's getting a pick. I think it's Amos or Lattimore. That's one of my predictions of what I think might happen in the game. The second one is that the score prediction, I'm going to go with 34-20 Commanders.
Okay.
Your turn. One score prediction. One.
Okay, calm down. I haven't even started talking yet.
Yeah, because I know you're going to say, oh, I got like 3.
No, you're going to be happy. This is not the time.
No, I'm giving you a hard time.
Okay, so I believe that I think Bill can score another touchdown. I also believe that we may see a touchdown from Zach Ertz.
Okay.
I think that
he didn't catch a ball last game, which was so weird. Didn't catch one pass. But anyways, continue.
Yeah. I feel like the home atmosphere is gonna spark something.
Yeah. I mean, look, Ertz is reliable, so
yeah, no, he is. Okay, let's get that clear. He is. Let me think. I do think Samer still can get a pick. And I also want to say that I'm going to leave it at there for now. If I have another prediction, I'll post it on Twitter.
Okay, that's fair.
And now for the final score. Uh, I'm thinking 24-22. Commanders win. Or I'm playing.
Close. No, you said okay, okay. Close though. That's a close game. That's a close game. You think it's gonna
That's
be?
what I'm
You
thinking.
think it's gonna be a hard fought game?
I think so. Like I don't like underestimating any team, especially the Bears.
Yeah,
Like the way that like maybe just from a media standpoint,
sure.
the way that things have been advertised over the last week has been kind of like have you kind of side eyeing the Bears a little bit, but at the same time, we know what the Commanders are going to come with on Sunday.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
all you
yeah.
can do is stay tuned. I mean, it was relatively close last year. I mean, I wasn't expect like I don't tell this story a lot, but last year I was kind of over it. I was like, you know what? I was like, I can't like in my moment of last year, I was kind of like so like kind of like, well, damn, they almost cost the game a little bit. And then all of a sudden, it was just like once Jaden started scrambling, I had got up out of my seat in the press box. And then all of a sudden, I like had got up, so I had got up from my seat already. I already had like my bag on my shoulder because I'm like, I'm just gonna go downstairs because they were stressing me out low key because I was like, no way he's scrambling for more than like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you just see him haul it downfield, and then all of a sudden, all you see is everybody like, oh, because like
I mean,
the
it was
TV
pure elation. Yeah, no, it was
the
crazy.
TV is like behind a little bit. So
Yeah.
all you saw was just
No, it was-
Northwest Stadium going crazy. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
And then I look and Noah Brown is standing in the end zone. I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, it was
freaking way.
crazy. No, I mean, to be fair, I would say, I was annoyed because I just felt like, I felt like they played better and were gonna lose the game even though they had played
Right.
better. So I was kind of like, what are y'all doing? Kind of.
I was just kind of like,
'cause,
how did
like,
we get here?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Because if you watch that game, anybody who wants to go back and watch that game, they dominated that game. It was really like the last quarter that they just played like
Right.
crap, and basically they just couldn't capitalize on touchdown. And that's why it's so important to get touchdowns, not field goals. But that last play, I was just like, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, yo, I'm gonna shoot it. I'm gonna take pictures because I'm one of these people who also like plays till the end of the game. Like I'm gonna keep
Right,
working
we're gonna
until
just
the end of
finish
the
it out.
game.
'Cause
But
you
I
just
was
never
just
know
kind of
what's
like,
gonna
yeah, they
happen.
lost. Yeah, and I mean, as much as I thought like, oh, it's a possibility, but like, come on, man, how often do Hail Marys work? They don't work that often.
right.
So,
And I was like sitting there, like, it wasn't even the fact that I didn't believe in them. I was just so, like you said, I was kind of annoyed because I'm like, are they really about to lose this game?
yeah.
And it's
at
a
that
night
point,
game.
I thought they did. Like, yeah.
And like just like my mindset in the first half was just kind of like okay, and then after that I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah,
I'm just
nah.
like,
But that's the reason why.
was stressing me out. I was
Usually,
like-
when people win on Hail Marys, people are like, "Oh, that was a cheap way to win." No one said that about this game because they knew
Mm. Yeah.
this team played better and should have probably won the game.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, okay, good. Like ball don't lie kind of thing. It was kind of
Yeah.
like, yeah, things kind of worked itself out in the end.
I
Man, it
thought
was a
they were
I'll
gonna
never
come.
forget that feeling. It was a crazy feeling for anybody who was in that stadium. It's something that we'll remember 20 years from now. And let's just
I do
hope.
need to apologize though to JD5 because in my head in that moment I was like, somebody gonna get him, and he
Oh no,
was
but
scrambling.
no, so many people
Like-
were like, "Yo, throw the ball!" Like people were annoyed.
Yeah,
They're
no,
just
I
like,
was
"Get
like-
rid of it."
In my head,
like
I'm like, he waited too
too
long.
long. Yeah, no, people wanted him to just toss it. There were so many people who recorded it that were like yelling at him, like, "Throw the ball!" And then
I'm
they're
like
all like,
sitting here like, no
celebrating
way.
afterwards.
He went.
No, I
left
mean, it
and then
was
right.
crazy.
I'm like, why? But part of me thought that he should have ran forward at least just a little bit. But then I was like, maybe he knows something that I don't. So
No,
I'm
I
like,
don't think. And to be fair, I know that he gets credit for it. It's a very luck play. All of it was luck. It was just people in the right place at the right time. So
Mm-hmm.
he tossed it up there. He gave him a chance, and that's all you can really do on that. And yeah, I think that's another reason why they're kind of like, yo, we can put that. Obviously you hear Jaden. He didn't really want to talk about it. Coach Quinn didn't really want to talk about it because
Yeah,
that
no.
play
And,
that
like,
play
that's
doesn't
fine.
matter. It was a luck kind of play.
It
There's
was
so many
luck,
other
and-
reasons for them to be confident about moving forward in this game is because they've been playing well ever since that. So, yeah, look, it was a crazy feeling. I know anybody who was in that stadium knows how nuts that was.
Yeah.
You'll never forget it. Even the people who are watching you'll never forget where you were when you were watching that play.
You never will forget that, and
so
that's
let's
great.
hope. Yeah, let's just
But
hope
I
that
didn't
we
mean
get
to like go into like a conversation about it, but it just had me thinking. Like my score prediction had me reflect on how things have gone all the way up until this point, and up until now.
Yeah,
and I don't think I've ever really told many people that story.
I disagree with you. I think they're gonna handle the Bears. I don't think it's gonna be that close. I think it's gonna be close for like the first half. I think the second half they take away. They take over. I really do. I don't know why I feel over. And it's weird because I'm usually the negative one. I think.
Yeah, he'd be like 30. He'd be like 32, 20, 25. So and so wins. I'm be like, what? I'm done. No.
Yeah, that's how I talk.
Be like, so. 31-10. Commanders lose. Like,
yeah. You see, but when I feel good, I'm gonna say it. I picked them to lose. I picked them to win.
We'll talk to you again when.
Yeah, we'll see. But I really do believe that they have all the tools to really handle this team. Could the Bears surprise everyone? I think it's possible. But if I was a betting man, I'd bet that they win comfortably. So anyways,
I never feel. Yeah. I always gotta say this, and I'm still like thinking, because obviously I only shared one score prediction.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll hear the rest later.
Yeah,
but
maybe you should have to Twitter.
Maybe. We'll see how I feel. But my biggest thing is it's like I always leave. I don't like leaving room for other teams to, just be like, yeah, we gonna see. But at the same time, we also got to be realistic that we've seen some surprising things in the NFL over the last couple weeks and over the last year.
Any given Sunday. Like, the thing is, it's like we saw the Chargers lose to the Giants, right? Like, I mean, there's been some really surprise losses, victories, all that. Like, I mean, teams, the most surprising things will happen. When this team played the Bears, 3 years ago, the Bears came in this game winless, and then they were winning 24-0 or something at halftime. Like, it's just, you never know. You just never know. But I do think that was a different time. I do think this team's going to be ready for it. And we'll see. But anyways, let's end it there. You know what I mean? It was a good talk. Obviously, it's been very exciting covering this team. We're a quarter way through the season. We're excited to give you guys more, hopefully. And maybe we'll do more videos like this, maybe even more than just once a week. So we'll keep you guys posted.
Yeah, definitely too. Like, this was like my first week really gelling back into practice a little bit more. So, definitely want to keep, we want to try to at least go to practice, especially on the days where they wear pads. So, we want to be there. We want to make sure that
follow Skylar, man. Yeah, follow Skylar for all that updates. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyways, that's all for us. We will talk to you after the game on Monday. Everybody, take care.